بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Are we good?
Yep, we're good.
Yes. So we got three things, right? Culture and Islam, and we got roles, gender roles, or just roles in general, like responsibilities?
They were specific about gender roles.
Gender.
Yeah.
And the third one, leadership.
Yeah.
Like make a connection between those. Really good. Do you guys, was it questions first or just like me talk and you guys get bored?
Yeah, we had question answer from 2 to 3.
Okay, but I'm
about
late.
it.
Okay, so yeah, so that's how that works.
So we have, I guess, 15 minutes.
Okay.
And then
like as far as I think, let me just start and just give a basic idea, and then you guys jump in and throw questions or whatever, inshallah. So first, I wanted to start with basically like just basic leadership. So like leadership in Islam. So just like some basic concepts of leadership in Islam. So our behavior as human beings in this life and as is basically, just as humans, it's based off of like whatever we want, basically. Our own urges and our own, like we're hungry, we go eat. We want to, work, we go work. We want to do this, we go do this. We want to go get married, we go get married. That's as humans. As Muslims, we believe that our place in this life is not like that of animals, but that we have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a conscience, and that we behave with regards to how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us to behave, or advised us to behave, or sent messengers to tell us to behave, right? So our behavior is based on, and this is like a philosophical debate, like how do we act? Is it like morals? Where does moral come from? Does it come from like some innate animal instinct? Does it come from, all this stuff? But as Muslims, we believe that our behavior is based on the model of the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet ﷺ and all of the prophets were sent when mankind got off of the path a little bit. They say, hey, let's come back to the road and let's talk. And let's go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we see that the Prophet ﷺ, the Quran, Allah talks to him about saying, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. And verily, you are on an exalted standard of character. The Prophet ﷺ is the model, is the basis for character. So he's our standard. So when we behave and we look at different concepts, it goes back to that standard as Muslims. So when we're talking about leadership, we're talking about being a follower, being a leader. It always goes back to that standard of who? The Prophet ﷺ. So we look at how the Prophet ﷺ behaved as a leader. We look at how Islam approached us as being a leader. And Islam sees us, as far as individuals and as far as leaders or followers, that we're each responsible for what we are, like what we cover, what we're responsible for. So, for instance, it says, there's a hadith that says, كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَاعِيَتِهِ. All of you are shepherds, and all of you are responsible for your flock, or for what you're responsible for. And this leads us into responsibilities as well, like gender roles and responsibilities in marriage, and that's the connection that I found there. But basically, they say that if you're a leader, leadership is seen as a responsibility. It's not seen as a right. It's not seen as like, this is something that's lineage, that I'm a right and I'm entitled to this thing. It's seen as a responsibility. So we are supposed to approach leadership as an amana, as a trust that Allah gave us, and as a responsibility. So how does that translate to each one of our lives, basically? So that translates basically as, when I'm a student here in the MSA, and I'm put into a position of responsibility, if I am أهلا لذلك, if I am fit to be a leader, and I know that I am, and there's no other person to be a leader, then I need to accept that. Because imagine each one of us, we say that we don't want to be leaders of the MSA, or we don't want to be leaders of such and such club, or such and such responsibility, or project, or whatever, then nothing's going to happen. So we can all be like super humble, like, no, brother, no, I don't want to, I'm not that for the akhi, I'm not leader. Or we can all say that, no, we all don't care. That's the other extreme. But in Islam, there's always the middle path. So not being overly humble and not being overly, I don't care. We know that there's some work that needs to be done. That, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided me. But what about everybody else that's out there? What about my brothers and sisters that are out there that they have questions too? That they want to do activities? That they wish that they had a friend that they could just, walk to their car with, for instance, and ask questions, or at nighttime they'll feel scared and they want, that companionship. Us here, what's the percentage of us as Muslims here? Like 20 people here. It's probably like what, 5%, 10% of all of the Muslims on campus. So where's everybody else? If we're not thinking about our brothers and sisters, out there, what's happening to them? How could we assist them? How could we help? And that's the mentality of a Muslim, and that's where the leadership comes in. That if I am responsible for the MSA, then I'm responsible for that particular group. But that doesn't mean that I'm entitled to it, or that it's something that's easy. It's actually a big, huge responsibility. Let me give you a story. So Sayyidina Umar, when he accepted the Khilafah, they talk about how humble he was, but how serious he was too, how driven he was. So Sayyidina Umar was very humble. One time, I think the Roman Empire sent emissaries, or there was an emissary from outside, and they were asking where's your emperor basically, where's your leader of this empire? Because at that time the Muslim empire was no longer just in the areas of what we call Saudi Arabia today. It reached all the way to Persia. So it's now up in Iran, it's all past Iran going towards Afghanistan. It reached past Jerusalem, it's going into Egypt now. Huge, vast empire. So the emperor of this empire is Sayyidina Umar. So they're looking for him in Medina. They come to Medina, where is your leader? So they said, over there, basically. So they found him. He was under a tree, and he had his shoes wrapped up and using them as a pillow, and he was sleeping. No one else around, no bodyguards, no police, no other companions, he was sleeping. So the guy was shocked. He's like, this is the emperor of your guys' kingdom? We heard about the Muslims and how strong they are and courageous and honest and good character, and how they've taken over all of this land, and this is your leader? So the saying was, I'll translate it roughly, is that he took care of the trust, and he spread trust and security throughout the land, so he slept. That's the reason why he is able to have a clear conscience on his heart and a clear brain, and he's not worried and has, he doesn't think, the paparazzi nowadays, you have a Hollywood star, and he has his entourage. He has that 10, 15 guys everywhere he goes, right? In the movie theater, on the plane, on this, he has to go with his entourage. Either he's trying to show off, he's not humble, he's like, this is my guy, and he's making himself bigger than he is, look how important I am, right? Or he's scared. He's living a scared life that someone's going to come hurt me, somebody's going to come attack me, somebody's going to do this and that. Sayyidina Umar, he didn't have either of these things. He wasn't super proud that, I got to have my castle and I got to have my area and give me my goose down pillow and bring me my silk sheets and bring me my this and that. He wrapped up his shoes, he put it under the tree, and he was taking a rest. Because he's probably been up since Fajr, taking care of the women, taking care of the poor, taking care of the orphans, taking care of this and that. So it's time to take a rest. So he wasn't overly arrogant, he was humble. And at the same time, he wasn't scared for his life, because everybody has security. There's trust, there's honesty spread throughout the Muslim community. So this is how leadership is looked at. It was said that Sayyidina Umar, he was scared about his responsibility, that his responsibility reached past the Persian Empire. He said, I am scared from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He will ask me about the sheep that tripped and fell in Iraq, in Baghdad, because I didn't have the streets correct. I didn't have the streets made and made nicely for people to walk on, for the animals to walk on, not just the people. So we look at our own like leadership in the Muslim world or within our own communities, and what is the efforts that they are making to take care of the humans. Are they making sure that the infrastructure is there? Are they making sure that the zakah money is being paid and that that's being distributed to our poor and to our women and those services are being taken care of? Sayyidina Umar, he was scared about the sheep who was going to fall because of he didn't do the roads. So you see also that responsibility, that he realized this is a trust. I think the stories are really good, like to see how the people understood like leadership in Islam or Islam. He went, Sayyidina Umar, the keys to Jerusalem were given to Umar radiallahu anhu. So the Christians, the Crusaders, that wasn't the Crusaders yet, but the Christians were in charge of Jerusalem until the Muslims came and conquered it. So the Muslims came and conquered it. They said, okay, here's the keys to the city, but we're not giving it to you guys, Sahaba. We're going to give it only to your leader, to your king, to your Khalifa. So Sayyidina Umar, he said, okay, I'll leave Medina and I'll go get it. So what did he do? He got up on his Boeing 747 private jet that all the kings have, and he got his, he got his entourage, 15, 20 guys, and they got on the plane. They got one camel, and he got one companion, basically. So one camel and one servant. And then they took off from Medina and they started heading towards Jerusalem, Al-Quds. So justice and humbleness and responsibility. So justice, the camel's walking and they're taking turns. It's his servant, right? It's Umar's servant. But he said, no, we don't want to be unjust. You take a turn, you ride, and I'll walk the camel. And then after a distance, I'll ride and you walk the camel. Now they start getting closer to Jerusalem, and the servant says, okay, Umar, now I think you should ride the camel now. I'm on here. I think you should ride the camel because when you see the kings and the leaders in Jerusalem, they're going to want to see the leader, They don't want to. He said, no, this is justice. Well, this is what Islam has taught us. That you take a turn, I take a turn. I'm not better than you, and you're not better than me. We're all equal in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then they started walking through a muddy patch or a watery patch as they're approaching the city. And one of the commanders of the Sahaba saw him from up high. And he ran down real quickly. He said, Umar, you're not riding on the camel, and your clothes are kind of muddy, and you're just wearing kind of simple clothes. Why don't you change your clothes? And because these people, they look at how you're dressed. They look at how you're... So he said, oh yeah, Ubaidah, if I wish someone else except for you said this. Don't you remember, we were the lowest of people. We were the lowest of the low. And we have been given honor now because of Islam. So anywhere that we will seek honor from outside of Islam, besides Islam, we will go back to being the low of the low. But as much as we seek honor from being Muslims and seeking from Islam and not what people think and not this and that and all this status, right? Then we will keep that honor. Because the honor is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's in following our deen. So subhanAllah. So we see the responsibility, we see the humbleness, and we see the justice in that story. And there's lots of stories like that, subhanAllah. Each one of us is responsible for our little area that we control. Each one of us have a circle of influence. Each one of us with our families, with our brothers and sisters, with our classmates, with our teachers, with our organizations, with our projects that we have, our friends, we have a circle of influence. So we're responsible for each one of those things and how we behave in those circles of influence that we have. By the way, I like the sisters are forward, mashallah. You guys are in the way back. I noticed that. Good job, that's good. Good. So each one of us are shepherds, and we're responsible for what we're shepherding, what we're responsible for. So the father is responsible for his children, for his family. The responsibility of the man in the house is to bring money in. Okay, what if the woman works? Is she responsible to take care of the family? Why?
then wouldn't it have to be equal? Is the husband working?
Okay, so say the husband's working.
He's working and the woman is also working.
I would
Okay.
think it would be a 50-50 split.
Yeah,
That's what
because as you were just explaining, you would think that if,
Okay.
like with Omar and the servant, like Omar didn't say, oh, I'm gonna, all right, yeah, I'm the king. I'm
Okay,
gonna
good. Good. No, that's a logical train of thought. However, so I don't have the same responsibilities as the leader. And if I'm the wife, I don't have the same responsibilities as the husband. And if I'm the husband, I don't have the same responsibility as the wife. So each one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us what those responsibilities are. So the man is responsible for his household. That's like a responsibility from Allah to the people, that he is responsible. Ultimately, he's responsible for making sure that his wife has a roof over her head. He's responsible for making sure that his wife has clothes, is clothed, is taken care of. Her health needs are taken care of. Is the wife at the same hand responsible for the husband? No, she's not. If she works, and that's her personal choice, and that's a choice that the family would make, her and her husband would make that. If she wants to work, if she wants to take care of the kids or put them in daycare or whatever, that money in front of Allah is her money. It's not the husband's money. If out of her own self, she wants to give and help the family from her own self as a donation, then that's from herself. But can the husband force her to do that? She cannot. If she wants to do 50-50, she can. So this is a big issue that you'll see in marriages sometimes as we kind of like transition from roles of responsibility to gender roles, right? That sometimes, the husband tries to force the wife and, we're doing really bad and, you should go work. And if she really doesn't want to, she really doesn't have to. If she goes to the sheikh or she goes to whoever, she doesn't really have to. However, it also has to do with culture, which also translates into our third subject about culture, right? So depending on the culture of the society as well, then that's also taken care of. But the clear-cut line is that the husband is responsible. The woman is responsible or carries a large load of raising the children. How does that work? Depending on the society, does she have to stay home? Can she work? But is she responsible for cleaning the house? Necessarily, and she's not necessarily responsible for cleaning the house. That also goes back to culture and urf. So the husband doesn't necessarily have to say, you have to clean the house, you have to do this and that. What if a woman comes from a high-class family, the brothers are going to kill me now. And now she's married, and she chose maybe a lower-class brother or whatever. He says, the way you lived and all those clothes that you had with your father, he was rich, that's not my deal now. I don't you had a servant, you had 2 servants. The husband actually, and according to the fuqaha, he's also responsible for maintaining her standard of living that she was living as well. So this is all flexible. This is not like, okay, Sheikh Shams said, and then that's like we have to go destroy the community, right? But it goes to show that this is taking into account that a woman, how she was being raised in her family's house, that is also taken into account. That you can't just drop her and say, oh no, you get 2 pieces of clothing now, I took care of you. And you get like this house down on Colfax, I took care of you. And you get this, and that's it. No, also Islam takes care of how she was being raised, how she was used to her system of life and those things. At the same time, like you said, there's justice, the concept of justice in Islam. And none of you sisters and typical sisters wouldn't want to destroy the husband as well. This is the brother that I am pleased with him, that came to me, مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ وَخُلُقُهُ, that I accepted his deen and accepted his character as a good person. فَزَوِّجُوا, that I married him and that I would marry my daughters to this type of person. So I'm not going to destroy him and he's just starting off coming out of college and he's a good guy and no, I have to have this Gucci bag and I have to have this Prada this and I have to, okay, hey, we're good. I'll get you the bag. Maybe we could do 1 bag a year. What you think, okay? We can do that. Maybe we can get some shoes once in a while for you. Maybe we can, he's got tons of weddings this summer, right? So do you need a dress for every wedding or can we work that, you don't need a new dress every wedding and we can go to 2 weddings with 1 dress and they're different communities anyways and they won't see you. I'm sure you guys are also. That's the give and take. So those are the responsibilities. The kids have responsibilities on us that we treat them with justice. That I choose a good mother for them. That my wife that I chose, the responsibility of the children or the right of the children is that I choose a good mother, and that my wife and I choose a good name for them, and that we raise them in the correct manner. We don't just, throw them to the side and we're running the high life and our kids are not taken care of. And the rights of the parents on the children is that they be respected, that they follow their orders unless they're saying do shirk with Allah or leave Islam or do things. As long as they're not obeying Allah, we should be following our children. So if you look at this society and how beautiful this society is, the leader fears Allah and has justice, and he's humble at the same time. And this is his rights on the community. And the community has rights over the leader, but that they need to follow the leader and what he says, but they also need to question the leader as well. Sayyidina Umar, one time there was a battle, and there was the spoils or the booty, right? Spread between the Sahaba. So everybody got spoils of war. And how everybody got basically a thobe, right? So a thobe or a piece of dress. So Umar stood up on the minbar and started talking, and he was wearing two. So one of the Sahaba stood up, "Oh Umar, you think we're going to listen to you? Look at you. You don't have justice. You're wearing two pieces of clothing, and each one of us got one piece of clothing." What did Umar say? "Off with his head," right? No, he didn't say that. "Who are you to question me?" No, he didn't say that. I'm going to get you. When you're not looking, I'm going to get you. No, he didn't say that. He told his son, Abdullah bin Umar, who was sitting close by. He said, "Abdullah, please stand up and respond to this brother." So he accepted what he said and see how he responds. He said, "Yes, my father had his thobe, but I gave him my thobe as well because he's a big man and it wasn't covering him enough. So I gave him my thobe, and that's why he has two thobes." So look at the justice. Look at the community, how they hold their leaders responsible. And at the same time, look at the leader, how he responds, and he has transparency, and he has justice, and he doesn't, just, their complaints to the side, thrown to the side, anything like that. So this type of community is the ideal utopia that we strive for. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, that this is what you should work towards. Life isn't going to be perfect in this dunya. Life is made to be a test. لِنَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created death and He created life. He created these things so that He may test us, which one of us is best in deeds. So He created death, like death is a created thing. Life is a created thing. He created these things. And He didn't just create us just like randomly, like He just, for whatever reason. We're not just here just randomly put on here because some algae touched some other algae, and then from that came some toad or some fish, and then there's like a monkey that came out of that, and then a man and a female came out of that. That's not. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fashioned Adam with His own hands. He was fashioned. And then He said in the Quran, He told the angels to prostrate to this man that I created, and He taught him all the names. Prostrate to this man, and He told Iblis prostrate to this man as well. Iblis was among the shayateen, or among the jinn, right? And he was amongst the most knowledgeable, and he was in the companion of the angels. So He said prostrate. So the angels, we're kind of going sidetracked, right? But the angels, what's some characteristics of the angels? You guys tell me.
They don't know how to be bad.
Okay, good. More. Where are they created from? Nur, light. And then, do they have free will?
No.
Okay, what do they, what's their purpose, their job?
Zikr to Allah.
Okay, dhikr to Allah, or just simply doing what they're told. Right, so Allah tells us what to do, but we choose or not. We don't choose. We have that free will, right? The angels, he says, do this, and they do this. So he said, prostrate to Adam right away, because they don't know how to disobey. They don't know how to be bad. Good. However, man and the jinn were created with free will. So the jinn are created from fire. Do we see them? No. Do we, are there Muslim jinn? Are there non-Muslim jinn? Okay, so they have free will as well. So don't get caught up on jinn too much, because there's people that think that there's jinn following them and this and that. We believe in them, right? We believe they're created from fire. We believe this and that. They can choose free will and this and stuff. But don't think that someone's controlling me and I need this and that, and don't get caught up in this. But these are part of our beliefs. We believe in Allah, the books, the prophets, the angels. We believe in the jinn. We believe in the hereafter. These are beliefs, right? So God said, prostrate to Adam. The angels, what did they do? And Shaitan, Iblis, he did not. He said, why would I prostrate to him? I'm better than him. Why? Because? Why?
Because he was made from fire and Adam was made from clay.
That's right. He said, خَلَقْتَنِي مِن نَارٍ وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِن طِينٍ. You created me from fire. Fire is better than clay. Fire is better than... And you created him from clay, from dirt, from dust. Why would I prostrate to him, right? So how did we get to this point? Bring me back. We were talking about gender roles. No, something else. I was going to connect it. Help me out. You are a great audience. That just means I'm boring. I'm going... professors have 30 minutes, and then khalas, after 30 minutes they lose you. They're done. Even 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 minutes. And they're like, okay, when's the next class, please? So basically we are created to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have that free will. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't just create us randomly. He didn't create us from this algae. He didn't create us. He created us with His own hands. So we have a purpose in this life, and each one of us has a responsibility. And when we fulfill that, that's the utopia. That when we fulfill those responsibilities, we become closer to the utopia on earth. We know that utopia will not be here. Utopia is going to be in Jannah, right? But if we try our best to follow the principles that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that I created you, and this is probably the best way that you guys could live your lives, then we get closer to that utopia. And that we know that Allah created us, and He created death, and He created life to test us. So the hardships that we're going to go through, and we are going to go through hardships, if we're naive and we think that everything's perfect, that my mom's not going to die, that my dad's not going to die, that maybe family members aren't going to die young, that I won't have children that pass away, that I won't have a miscarriage, that I won't lose my job, that I won't have a bomb drop on my family overseas, that I won't have... These things are happening now, and they will happen to each one of us. But the question is, how do I deal with these tests? How do I deal with the car accident? How do I deal with failing my class? Is life over? And do I compromise my character and my foundations as a person? As a person who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put on this earth to obey Him. Do I compromise that? Or do I deal with the exam, that I know that this is a test and exam, do I deal with that in the best way that I can? Think about a soldier in an army. And this soldier is a non-Muslim soldier, and he loses a limb. Think about that, he loses a limb, he loses an arm, a hand, he loses a leg, he's now in a wheelchair. He comes home, he doesn't believe in God. He doesn't believe in God. How does he live his life? Depending on the person, because there's many, one type of person could just be completely depressed. I lost my limb, I used to be a basketball star, I was going to make it to the big time, I was going to do this and that, and that's it. Now I'm just going to be depressed, going to drink. When I die, that's it. Life is over. Why God? Why did this happen to me? Maybe he doesn't even believe in God. Right? The Muslim perspective, you guys tell me, what's the Muslim perspective, for instance, in the type of catastrophe like this?
Alhamdulillah, you're still alive.
Alhamdulillah, you're still alive.
Allah is testing you.
Allah is testing me. Who gave me my hand? Right? do I have another hand that I can still use? Okay, so if I'm patient with this test, is it like at the end of this life, that's it? Plus I was patient and that's it? What? I'll get rewarded for my patience or for my passing this test. I mean, imagine life without like reward or paradise, or imagine like how fruitless. Like just imagine like, okay, so life is like, this is it. Okay, so I'm in college now, and then what? Okay, and then like, okay, I get married to some guy, you know, I like him or I don't like him. Okay, and then I have kids, great. Okay, so then, okay, my kids, they drive me crazy, all right. And then, now I'm 50 years old, and I'm not as good looking or pretty or whatever, you know. Okay, okay, then what? And the grandkids, great. So these things, right? I have my parents pass away, and then what? And then what? And then what? Like, okay, and then what? So subhanAllah, we have paradise. We have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala merciful to us. We have subhanAllah. And then we look at, and then your whole perspective on life changes. This general idea. Okay, so my wife is not going to be like she was in 30 years old. But where's the beauty? The beauty is in herself, not in her body. Allah created her body. Like this is how God created things. So when I have that perspective in life, these things come, you know, it becomes so much easier. And you're like, oh wow, like I see this window, how things work, how the system works. إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب. If I said that ayah right, verily in the changing of the day and the nights there are signs. And in yourselves, in another ayah, and in yourselves there are signs. Do you not think? Do you not ponder? Do you not? So, like kind of wrapping up all these types of concepts. That general idea is, as a Muslim, I should understand how do I look at life as a Muslim? Where did I come from? What these big major questions that every individual has. Where did I come from? How do I get here? What am I doing here? Where am I going? These are all major philosophical questions that human beings have. Where am I? Like what's the point of it all? Islam comes and it answers that. And the reason Islam is able to uniquely answer these things is because Islam is, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who created these things. Assalamu alaikum, sister. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
So if I have that general viewpoint or point of view as a Muslim in life, it makes things a lot easier. And it actually motivates me to be a leader, to be responsible as a leader, to be humble, and to, you know, fulfill my duties as a student, outside of college, those types of things. And it allows me to realize my different roles and perspectives as an individual. When I become a father, when I become a mother, when I'm put in charge of, I'm a CEO, what's my responsibilities? These types of things. It tells us about leadership, how we should be in the community, how should we be at work, how should we be, all these relationships, my relationship between myself and God, it tells me how to be. My relationship between myself and my neighbor, my relationship between myself and Muslims and non-Muslims and my wife and my children. The guide is right there. All I have to do is open up the book and just, this is Islam. It just tells me right there. If I have questions, I just go ask. So alhamdulillah, like with regards to culture as well, that's the third and final thing, is that culture in Islam is something that is taken into account. And we talked about that a little bit. It's not necessarily, it's funny, there's a big debate. There's a book called, listen to the title of this book, ضجيج الكون في لبس البنطلون. Right? The shaking of the universe in wearing pants. So there was a time period where the Muslim Ummah started wearing pants. Like the pants were introduced into the Muslim nations, right? Their old dress was like thobes or loose clothing, or like even like you see the Malaysians or the Yemenis wearing the cloth over, like the waist cloth. That was the clothes. But then the West had pants, and those started coming in. All right, assalamu alaikum. Thanks for guys for coming. So it's like a big debate. So like this is new culture. So does this go with the principles of Islam? Does this, you know, are we allowed to wear pants? Are we not allowed to wear pants? And there goes the whole debate of like culture and urf and how do we accept culture, things like that. So then we just go back to the basic principles of Islam and we say, okay, clothing for men and for women is basically, shouldn't be see-through, shouldn't be like tight fitting, shouldn't be like too attractive in and of itself. Okay, so does it go against any of this stuff? Okay, so jeans, not see-through, not too tight, not, you know, so attractive and in and of itself, right? That I'm attracting gazes and eyes and looks and this and that. So, okay, pants, good to go. We're good, because these are the foundations that Islam has. Have you guys ever like looked at the U.S. Constitution? Mm-hmm. U.S. Constitution is broad principles. It doesn't go into the details how the police department in Atlanta, Georgia should be running their affairs. It's general principles, justice, equality, freedom, rights of the citizen, rights of this, rights to bear arms. And the Sharia, of course, Islamic law, because it's from Allah, it's the same thing. General principles. These are general principles. Then cultures come in the future, right? Okay, so how do this culture compare to these general principles? Because Allah revealed the deen, He revealed the Sharia, and He's not like forgetting, like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen in 2015. He knows what's going to happen in 2015. He knows that we're going to be sitting here when He revealed the message to the Prophet. And He knows that there's going to be a computer revolution. He knows there's going to be internet. He knows there's going to be industrial revolution. He knows that in 50, 100 years from now. So the deen that I'm revealing to man has to be compatible with all of these changes and times and cultures and things. So these are general principles. So we'll see the beauty in Islam is that it's not like rigid. It's not like a deen that only is suitable for Bedouin Arabs 1400 years ago. This deen is suitable for the Muslims in China, that there's millions of Muslims in China as we speak, the millions of Muslims in India, in Malaysia, completely different culture, the Muslims in Latin and South America, that is now a growing population, us as Muslims living in the West. So that's the beauty of Islam. And I think just like to wrap up maybe, when we have like the general idea, as they call it, like Islamic thought or Islamic understanding, then it makes life, you know, very beautiful, and we start to see the beauty in, alhamdulillah, the religion that our parents gave us, and that inshallah that we choose ourselves, because we each have to choose it. You know, we're not going to just be in front of Allah and say that, oh, you know, I'm Muslim because I'm just Muslim. But no, that there has to be some sort of movement in my heart that this is something that I believe in myself. So I guess in conclusion, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us understanding, and we ask Him to give us mercy between one another, and that He help us increase our brotherhood and sisterhood and work with one another, and that we understand our faith, and that He shows us its beauty, and that He allows us to enact it in the various facets and responsibilities that we have, and the phase of life that we each have, and that He protect our children and He protect our community, inshallah. And thank you guys again for allowing me to come and just share some thoughts. You know, I know you guys know all this stuff already, but maybe just from a different perspective, inshallah, it's good to hear and remind each other, inshallah.